Hey, welcome back. It's December 8th and Bitcoin is hovering just under 100,000. I just want to share this article, which I find it very interesting. I honestly think as more nation states adopt Bitcoin into its sovereign reserve, it comes to a point where we need to question ourselves from a state perspective, from a government perspective, the level of taxation that we are imposing on citizens, on people, the ordinary man and woman on the street. And for me, when you start adding Bitcoin as another strategic reserve in a national reserve, it really doesn't make sense to have this plethora of different types of taxation. These are antiquated means of gathering proceeds, money from citizens in order to finance certain needs of the country, right? Like public services, education, law enforcement. Now, I think this article on Czech Republic, and this is very interesting because they made it very clear in the title. Czech Republic exempts long-term Bitcoin holdings from capital gains tax. Now, capital gains has always been the major inhibitor. When an investor makes money, they start to eat into those financial gains through this capital gains taxation. And this is common throughout the world. And what the Czech Republic is trying to do here is not trying to say, well, we're going to make long-term Bitcoin holdings exempt from capital gains if you hold it for a certain minimum period, which makes sense. But it's signaling something more than that. It's trying to compete with the other nation states. And don't forget, it's not just the Americans as part of this Make America Great Again. Well, that same mantra is going to apply with any other country who are also want to compete into becoming known as a Bitcoin friendly nation or crypto friendly nation. This is the point, right? What the Czech Republic is signaling here is not just exempt Legion digital assets like Bitcoin, exempt from capital gains. What it's trying to say is I want to attract the digital enthusiasts out there to come into the country to make a major contribution by attracting investors, whether you're young entrepreneurs or seasoned entrepreneurs. It applies to those kind of people and indeed other types of professionals, right? Who also have a certain holding amount on crypto assets. This is the cohort that this country is trying to attract, trying to become that magnet of bringing these talented individuals, and not just talented individuals, but also their holdings, their estate, if you like, into the country by making these certain, these typical positive type legislation approvals, making capital gains exempt, completely exempt, if you hold it for a certain minimum period, which is what this article attempts to explain. That the Czech Republic's strategic move to attract young entrepreneurs and drive the digital economy. This is the rationale. It says by exempting Bitcoin held over 3 years, this is the point, from capital gains tax, the Czech Republic is sending a clear signal. It aims to be a leader in the digital age. This bold and forward-thinking policy is designed to appeal to tech-savvy entrepreneurial youth, foster growth in the digital economy, create opportunities for startups and small businesses, and to strengthen its position as a crypto-friendly nation. All the points I just mentioned a moment ago. You have to read between the lines. It's not just saying, I'm going to give you free candy. No, I'm going to give you free candy, but in return, I want to be able to attract these type of investors, these type of entrepreneurial individuals into the country. I want to do X, Y, Z. In the case of Czech Republic, they want to enable foster growth via digital economy. They want to create opportunity for startups and small businesses in the country, and a result to become renowned crypto-friendly nation. This seems very sensible. And this is something that I'd expect now other countries to do the same. I mean, the Czech Republic, in all honesty, they've actually copied this playbook from El Salvador. If you recall, El Salvador has been the first nation to make Bitcoin as a legal tender, and they're doing all of these things. And in fact, they've gone over and above applying these elements into the country. They've actually applied other educational awareness programs to its citizens. But nevertheless, the Czech Republic have taken heed of the El Salvador playbook example of the Bitcoin standard, and they're going to be applying these measures, right? And in return, they're going to be supporting them to create fintechs, startups for the Web3 digital economy. This is where I believe is where the wind is going to blow. At the end of the day, this is really what matters most. So these are the sort of measures that are very, very important and gives a clear signal that these type of nations who are starting to promote these measures is signaling that this is a serious country to be taken into consideration. And who knows, right? I myself, at some point, I'm a Bitcoin holder. When it comes to materializing part of that wealth during my retirement, who knows? I may end up living in Czech Republic if by then, touch wood, they continue to abide with what they're pledging here and make capital gains tax free. Well, why not? I may actually end up living there part of the time during my retirement. Because where I am at the moment, it's the most anti-crypto nation I've ever come across. In fact, the majority are anti-crypto. Well, if the Czech Republic is providing this, I'm in no doubt at all that they're going to be a huge flock of other people, not just the entrepreneurs that they want to attract, but other individuals who have a substantial holdings already in the crypto leading assets, including Bitcoin, who are to say that then they're going to deny them access to the country. Of course they're going to allow them to access the country for the reason I've just stated. So it has to come to a point where there'll be other countries going to be providing these measures. They're going to be forced to provide these measures in order to retain their economy. Because if they don't, they're going to be left out in the wind and serve them right. If they're anti-crypto, anti-Bitcoin, and they're not moving into the 21st century way of thinking, they're going to be lost, they're going to be left behind. So this episode just really attempts to put it into your attention that when we make these type of investments, it's very important to have these considerations taken into account, particularly when you start to materialize, once let's say you've reached a minimum 10-year period holding of, let's say, Bitcoin, which is my goal, right, in order to generate that intergenerational wealth for my heirs and loved ones. At some point, I want to be able to materialize even small amounts of those holdings in order to cover my expenses. And the thing that I'm going to be concerned at that point is capital gains. Which countries out there are the most crypto-friendly nations out there that I should take into account and maybe move into when it comes to that moment of materializing some of my Bitcoin gains in order to be exempt from capital gains taxation. So hopefully, just take into consideration all of these points, because at some point when we're going to have these substantive gains, and we will, mark my words, we are going to be having a substantial gain if and only if, as I am, holding your Bitcoin holdings into the long term, minimum 10-year period, and you want to start to materialize parts of the gains intelligently, particularly during retirement where you want to be able to cover certain expenditures or that HIP operation, where you want to consider nations like the Czech Republic who are going to be making moves of becoming the crypto-friendly nation and making capital gains tax exempt. So you need to take this consideration. So hopefully this episode gives you that eye-opener, and you should indeed do that research, and because this is going to change. I'm confident the next 10 years, I'll be very, very surprised if, a handful of countries by then would have not taken this kind of advice and measures into effect in their own territories to think 20th, 19th century style, let's tax the hell out of the people. By then, I'd be very surprised if those nations would still exist in 10 years' time. So hopefully you've enjoyed today's episode. If you have, please don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel and also share this video. So I'll see you next time.